Hi, everyone. This is Mark Oppenheim, Dean from the Center for University Advising, and just want to welcome you all as you're checking in. We look forward to providing you with information regarding fall and the academics. We're going to be having a good conversation specifically focused around the Herbert School. So we're going to allow a couple of minutes for you all to log in, and we appreciate your patience. And we're going to get started in just about 2 minutes. So thank you very much for being here with us. For those of you just arriving, we're going to wait just another minute to allow for our audience to get settled in. And I'm Mark Oppenheim with the Center for University Advising, and we're looking forward to speaking with you in this forum about the fall semester, specifically our academic approach. So we'll get started in just about a minute. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay, thank you, everyone. We're going to get started. This is the academic forum for the fall semester, specifically with an eye toward our Lawrence Herbert School of Communication. And I'm thrilled to be here with my colleagues from the Herbert School and the Division of Student Affairs, and I'll introduce them in just a moment. But to get you started, I want to tell you I'm Mark Oppenheim. I have the privilege to serve as Dean for our Center for University Advising. And we're hoping in this session to be able to give you some important updates regarding how we are approaching the fall semester, specifically with regard to the courses, the modes of delivery, how students may be approaching remote learning. And we're going to be encouraging you in a few minutes to share your questions with us so that we can make sure that you're fully prepared for the fall. Before we do go forward with some important information, I'm going to introduce our panelists. I'm pleased to welcome Michelle Roberts, who is our Assistant Dean for the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication. Stephanie Rico Gauss, who is one of our senior members of the an associate director for our Center for Academic Excellence, and she leads the way with regard to our university tutorial program. And Branka Kristic, who is the director of our Parent and Family Office. And those of you who are parents and family members in the audience hopefully have had a chance to meet Branka before, and if not, definitely take time to do that after today. So I just wanted to start off by sharing a couple of important notes with everybody. It has obviously been a challenging time for everyone in these uncertain times. And I want to thank you for your patience as the university has worked diligently to make sure that we have the best plan in place for you. A great deal of work has gone into making the campus a safe environment for your return. We do know that there's a lot of apprehension and anxiety around returning, but we want you to know we're doing absolutely everything we can to make this the safest environment for our students, our faculty, our staff, and our community members. A small group of vice presidents and deans that was led by our provost, our student life staff, our president's office, facilities and operations, and our clinical health staff have been overseeing the planning. And you can find all of the details about Hofstra's reopen and the specific steps we've taken with regard to public health in our Safe Start website, which we'll share a link for you in the chat to make sure that you can visit that, because I think is going to be a lot of helpful information that you're going to want to refer to. So I've just posted the Safe Start website for you to access. This has obviously been a difficult time, and because you understand that one day, one thing can be one way, and then it can be a different, and things are constantly changing, especially with regard to preparing under the guidelines with our public health professionals. What you understand, as I said, is fluid from one day to the next, and that's why we've tried to be as flexible as possible to make sure that we're prepared for a great fall semester. One of the things that we've done to make sure that we're prepared to give you the best academic experience while maintaining all the public health and social distancing guidelines is reassess the modes of delivery for the various courses. And we'll be talking about that a little bit more in a few minutes, because we are delivering not only face-to-face courses, but there will also be hybrid and online learning taking place this semester. All of the on-campus and hybrid courses will be taking place in physically distanced environments where our students and faculty will be required to wear masks. If you're coming to campus, please note that you must wear a mask indoors and comply with public health guidelines. There will also be an opportunity for students, as appropriate, to elect to study remotely this fall, and we will be providing you with a little bit more information about that shortly as well. Lastly, I wanted to point out that we are prepared should there be a case on campus, and we have the ability to respond professionally with the best public health protocols, and have gone above and beyond what the CDC and the state request in terms of testing and tracing. We're working with Nassau County Department of Health, and we've got some on-campus housing for quarantine and isolation. And we're also working with Northwell Health on our testing in our student health center, as well as surveillance testing. Please note that this forum is meant to focus on academic issues, so we encourage you to carefully review the Safe Start website for more information about testing and COVID-related guidelines and protocol. And that website is always being updated, so we want to make sure that you're reviewing it on a daily basis to make sure that you're not missing any of the latest information that will be important to students. Also, please make sure that students and family members are checking their Hofstra Pride emails and their emails on file daily, so that if there's important info for parents and families, you'll get that update from Bronca's office. And for students, we're going to be sending out important information, and you're going to have some important information delivered to you in just a couple of minutes. Some of you are receiving an email. So we'll talk about that in just a moment as well. Before I do elaborate on some of the modes of delivery that we'll be utilizing this fall, I just wanted to give each of our panelists a minute just to say a few words on behalf of their areas, and then I'm going to share some information, and we'll open up the Q&A for us to answer your questions. So I want to actually reintroduce Michelle Roberts, our Assistant Dean for the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication, just to say a couple of words before we move forward.
All right, thank you so much, Dean Oppenheim. Hi, yes, my name is Michelle Roberts, Dean Roberts, and I'm Assistant Dean for the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication. As you can see, I'm here in the studio, well, at least virtually, but looking forward to being back in person. You know, I've already been working with a lot of parents and students so far to talk about this fall and what it will look like. And again, any questions you have or anything you need, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to put my email in the chat so that you can do so. And yeah, our faculty and administration have been very much looking forward to and working very hard to be able to deliver all of the courses here at the Herbert School in the format that works best. And there'll be more about that in just a bit. So thank you so much. Who's next? How about you, Stephanie?
Sure. Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Rico-Gauss. As Dean Oppenheim said, I work in the Center for Academic Excellence. I'm the Director of Academic Success Programs. And so one of the primary areas I oversee for our department is the Undergraduate Tutorial Program, which is a free tutoring service that our department provides that has peer tutoring. So sophomores, juniors, and seniors at Hofstra who have done really well in the courses that we tutor have been endorsed by faculty and are available to help other students in those courses. So we are prepared this semester to offer our tutoring services completely virtually, which will give all students flexibility, whether they are staying at home and taking remote classes for the semester, or if at any point they have to pivot and change to a remote option. The courses that we typically cover will be available for both students who are on campus and remote. So that's one of the services we'll be providing. And I guess I'll toss it over to my colleague, Branka Kristic from Parent and Family Programs.
Welcome, students and family members. Thank you very much for joining us. This is great that you want to be informed. I welcome you, and I also want to mention to my parents and family members, we will have parent and family forums starting next week on Tuesday, August 11th. Just please Google Welcome Day Hofstra or Welcome Week Parents Hofstra, and you will find that on that page all of those. You can register for them. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Michelle, Stephanie, Branka. And as we are here on this Zoom, all undergraduate students are in the process of receiving an email from me, which includes the most up-to-date version of your fall semester schedule with some important details regarding modes of instruction. So to best prepare for this semester and make sure we created the most appropriate environment that can maintain all social distancing and public health guidelines, we had to look at the capacities of our courses and also determine whether there were some courses that would be best delivered in not just a face-to-face manner, but in a hybrid or online manner. And so the email that you're about to get will have your schedule. It will include specifics about the method of instruction for each course so that you're aware of what to expect, and a little bit of a summary regarding those modes of delivery. So let's see, actually I'm gonna ask Charisse to enable screen sharing, and then I will share with you in a couple of minutes a little view summarizing the different modalities that we have. Okay, thank you, Charisse. All righty. So just to give you a quick bit of information, and this is in the email that you'll all be getting, we have really 3 different modes of delivery that we'll be utilizing. In person, which are our typical face-to-face in-class courses that you're used to, most of you. Hybrid, which is a combination of in-person and online. AB, which is a type of hybrid in which students in one day are attending the course online and then another in person, and there's a rotation that allows for an appropriate number of students to be maintained in the classroom and provide for, again, adequate social distancing in the classroom. If you're in an AB hybrid course, your faculty member will provide you with more specific details on or around the start of the semester in terms of what day you'll be coming to class versus when you'll be participating remotely. We also have online courses, which are completely virtual and online, and those courses can either take place synchronously or asynchronously, and that mode is determined by the faculty member, and that would be determined before the semester, and so you'll see that, again, in the schedule that you're going to receive in your Hofstra email any moment now. And just to remind you, synchronous learning is online or distance education that happens in real time. So if you have a course on your schedule Tuesday, Thursday, 11:10 to 12:35, and it is an online synchronous course, you'll be logging on at that very time every day, every Tuesday, Thursday with your peers to have a structured, engaged classroom experience. We also have asynchronous courses, which the learning is done through online channels, but without any real-time interaction. So students and faculty are connecting but not in real time, and having that all determined in the syllabus in terms of your requirements, the expectations, how you'll access and engage course materials and your classmates, because you still will engage one another. It would just be in an asynchronous manner and not in a real-time manner. So I just wanted to highlight those, and those are all going to be listed in your email so that you're able to get that information. But there is one other really important distinction that you'll need to pay attention to in the email. So the email also indicates that for those students who are choosing to study remotely this fall for COVID-19 related reasons, and that could mean that you are doing it for health reasons, for travel reasons, or for personal reasons, you're going to be asked to fill out a form to let Hofstra know that it's your plan to elect remote learning. You will then be prompted to engage your specific faculty members for those classes that you have that are already listed as face-to-face or hybrid, so that you can get confirmation whether or not they can be easily accommodated for remote learning. We anticipate that many of our courses, the majority, can be accommodated, and faculty are working hard to confirm how to do that optimally. But it is important for you to also know that there are some courses that cannot be accommodated because the type of pedagogy and learning that needs to take place is hands-on or requires a very practical and engaged component that cannot be replicated in a remote format. And so that includes many production courses in television, radio, and film. So you'll need to work closely with your advisors and your department, should you be studying remotely this fall, to get advice on how to identify appropriate alternatives so that you are making progress toward graduation and not disrupting your four-year plan. And please note, we're going to be working with every single student on a case-by-case basis to make sure that we can identify a structured solution for each student who needs to study remotely. But we do need you to be aware that some courses will need to be replaced. And if that's part of your schedule, we'll encourage you to work with the Center for University Advising and your major department to make sure you can make those adjustments within the next couple of weeks. But we are very optimistic that we can work with all students to come up with a plan to progress toward your graduation. So with that being said, I would like to open the Q&A and encourage you all to start sharing questions. Please remember that these questions should be academic in nature. If you do have questions about COVID testing or quarantining, we want to direct you to the Safe Start website for their detailed information about health and wellness, which, as I said earlier, is being updated on a daily basis and will be the most accurate place for you to visit for that information. So we're going to start with the first question here. I realize that the sudden transition to remote instruction was difficult for both professors and students. What was done to solicit feedback systematically from students about what worked and what didn't work in remote instruction? What I would say is that those of us on this particular panel weren't part of the direct process of recruiting and analyzing feedback, but Hofstra did absolutely reach out to students toward the end of the spring semester by way of a survey to solicit feedback about their experience. And members of the Division of Student Affairs actually reached out to hundreds of students to follow up on any questions or concerns and to direct and refer any kinds of recommendations, concerns, or questions that came forward. So while we were not involved in the direct part of creating solutions, we were all on the part of engaging and collecting information and sharing it with our colleagues in the academic department so that they could make informed decisions about how to best serve our students. And I think one of the things that they found was students overwhelmingly said they would prefer online synchronous courses as opposed to asynchronous, because they want to be locked into a set time with their peer group and have a more engaged experience. And so things like that were very helpful for us in terms of being able to come up with recommendations on how to best proceed. So let's see, okay. The next question, is there a place for students to do online class on campus if they're a commuter in order to be on time for an in-person class afterwards? There is no way for me to be on time if online Zoom session is done at home. I'll actually invite Branka to give an update on that question.
We are working with the Director of Community Student Services and Community Outreach, plus with the academic side registrar, to locate the spaces on campus that will be dedicated for commuting students if they need to take those classes. We are aware, very well aware, that you are really facing those impossible travel times from in-person class to online class back to in-person class. And please read your Pride emails. We will inform you with more details in the future.
I'll just also add, there are on the Safe Start website, there is information about multiple tents that the university has set up. So weather permitting, in nice weather, if you prefer to take your classes that are synchronous online on our beautiful Hofstra campus under a tent, there's space available for that as well.
Thank you all for that. Another question, and we'll direct this to Michelle, are we still allowed to do on-site internships?
Yes, well, I think that will depend on the actual employer and the site, because if they're in person and they are inviting a student to do their internship in person, then yes. A lot of places have made the move to do something virtual. A lot of students interned this summer virtually, especially like a journalism or public relations internship where a lot of writing is involved, or digital. So yes, the answer is it can, but it depends on the company. Hofstra will support the student in what internship they want to pursue, if it is of course approved in terms of the learning outcomes. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Michelle. Another question for you. It says, my son is a film major in his senior year. How will senior films be handled?
Okay, yes. Again, that would also depend on if the student is going to be in person, then they'll be handled the way they always do. If the students take out their equipment or they do them in the studio, socially distanced and safety, of course, and safely. If the student elects to be remote, that'll be a conversation that will need to be had with the professor, and also because there might be other ways that the content and the learning can happen. If something happens where we hopefully don't, but if we do end up coming back online at some point mid-semester, then there will be a few options that will either be a pivot to something that can be done at home, or if a student is in the position to take an incomplete in the course and come back to campus when they're ready, that could be an option as well. Some don't mind that and some do not want to do that. So all of it really does depend on the student and where they're at and the professor. But we assure you, and as Mark mentioned earlier, that we'll make sure that the degree keeps moving and that we accommodate students the best way we can, but to make sure they're also getting the most out of the program.
Thank you, Michelle. The next question reads, being that there are limitations as to how many people can be in a room at a time, the issue of students not being able to access resources like the school's editing softwares will be prominent, as it was last semester virtually. Last semester, we were given access to Adobe Premiere editing software to help combat this problem. How is the school taking action? Will we be given access to the Creative Cloud for those who are unable to access these resources?
Well, that's a very good and timely question. We've been discussing that during our dean's office and administrator calls. And yes, we're making contingency plans to make sure that students have the tools they need to be successful in their courses. So depending on if you're home, whatever the tools there are, we are going to make an arrangement with those specific programs to enable students to have the tools they need to do their work.
Thank you, Michelle. We're going to keep it rolling. If in a production major, if there is a choice to remain remote, if the semester has to be shut down again like the spring, how can that hands-on experience be replicated or replaced? So I think, you know, they're referring to this, what we did in March when we had to convert over. If that happens again, you know, how would we accommodate students in that environment?
Well, it's much like I just mentioned, sort of, you know, depending on the professor and what the course is. So if it's like, say, a journalism course that's, you know, doing reporting and shooting, sometimes the students created wonderful content with their phone, or students were also making it possible that they'll be able to take out equipment and then return it at a later time safely. There's different scenarios. If a student is all the way almost completed with the course and then things have to shut down, there will be an ability to complete that, you know, after sort of the semester. So again, it really is going to be sort of case by case and depending what the opportunity is. So if it's a course where they're in this studio working with cameras and they maybe front load all of the hands-on, and maybe some of the studies portion of the course can be then handled later in the semester. So every professor is taking into consideration those who are teaching the hands-on courses.
And Michelle, I see two questions again on the internship type front, so I'll cluster those together. How will you be helping students who must complete an internship for graduation requirements given the reduced opportunities? And my concern is the internships. My student has unfortunately not been able to do internships due to COVID. His internships have been canceled. He's in his senior year now and very concerned what is going on with procedure when it comes to internships.
Well, I'm thinking he must be a journalism student or a PR student, or if it's required. So with that in mind, well, we always manage through our connections and our professional contacts and our internship coordinator. We have an internship coordinator at the school, Professor Doug Morrow, who will be able to find some of the sites that are working with students remotely. And we will be able to try to, I mean, if anything, definitely help the student secure something that would be remote. Will it be exactly what they planned on doing? Maybe in a studio somewhere, maybe not, or in person at an office, but we have some sites that are able to accommodate internships during this time. So I would very much encourage you and your student to reach out to either myself and or our internship coordinator, who I'll put his email in the chat, and get the process started, because sooner is better, because we're already speaking with companies. We also have an internship fair, internship and career fair, that we're going to still have, although virtually, in October, which will be terrific, because we'll maybe even have more employers than sometimes come into this studio because they're able to do it electronically and via Zoom. So with all of that in mind, I'm confident that we'll be able to secure an internship that meets the qualifications and the requirements needed. So I will put Doug's email in the chat, and of course mine as well. And as like I said, what happens is we can find an internship site, then we find a supervisor, one of the faculty, and then the student can go ahead and register for the internship.
Thanks again, Michelle. I have a feeling we'll be hearing from you again very soon.
Okay.
I'm going to grab this one. My son was planning to return and looking forward to it. However, he's found that now all of his classes are online. This is going to sound granular, but if he stays home this term and then hopefully can return to campus in the spring, will he lose his housing? So unfortunately, if your son ends up canceling his housing for the fall and staying home, he will lose that particular assignment for which he was set up. However, we will guide him through the process of getting a new room assignment for the spring for which generally we're able to accommodate, in a typical semester, we're able to accommodate all requests. I know we have a more limited capacity, but I'm certainly, I can say that it's very likely that we would work with your son just to make sure that he's reassigned for the spring. But unfortunately, it likely would not be the same assignment. Although if he wants to arrange to maybe try and set up housing with a particular person in the future that he was with before, there may be ways to put in preferences, but there are no guarantees in terms of that process. Thank you for that question. Michelle, will Heat Network shows operate live, or will they continue to use the format from the spring? Courses like RTVF 14 that require hours on these productions seem at risk. How will this be managed?
Well, it is being discussed as we speak, and moving forward with the ability to do a lot of this in person, even though clubs throughout the university have been kind of mandated to be virtual. We are definitely able to have some in-studio sort of productions occur with some supervision from faculty at all times to make sure that students are remaining socially distanced to the way they can, to the best they can, as well as, they're going to have these clubs, and they have been having them, and there is a plan being made by Professor Gershon, Dr. Gershon. He's the head of the Heat Network from a faculty perspective. So you'll hear more about that as we move forward. We're going to be having a majors meeting for all communication majors, well, incoming students, on September 9th. But if you're a continuing student, then you'll also be hearing from members of the Heat Network. Student media organizations have actually been meeting all summer to kind of come up with these planning and figure out ways to continue, because students need to create their content, and plus it's really an enjoyable thing to be involved in.
Thanks again, Michelle.
Welcome.
One of our attendees asked, what professional development have professors who will be delivering online instruction received to ensure the learning experience is high quality and engaging? I'll actually answer that because I've gotten so many emails and invitations from our EdTech division on campus. They have done dozens of really diverse and engaging workshops with our faculty. And so there have been many, many, many opportunities, and all of our faculty have been strongly encouraged to take advantage of these professional development and educational workshops to make sure that they are maximizing the digital tools. So these were created in response to wanting to make sure we had the most prepared and optimized approach for the upcoming semester. So we're feeling very good about the education that our faculty has been receiving, and there are sessions going on as we speak in this month, and there will be continued sessions all semester long, and we're going to make sure that our faculty continue to work closely with our EdTech and information systems division to optimize the technology and innovation. So we've done a lot since March to make sure that we were ready for this kind of environment. Thank you for that question. Okay. Can a student who is not enrolled in a production course volunteer to work on a student production? Or is the Lawrence Herbert facility only open to students who are scheduled to be there? How would a student learn of these opportunities if they are permitted?
Well, if the student is a Herbert School student, and even if they are not, because a lot of times there are non-majors who are welcome to be part of our Heat Network shows, such as Thursday Night Live, which is like Saturday Night Live, but Thursdays right here in the studio. I think it will definitely be one of those things where they will receive information. There's going to be club fairs as well as our meetings, majors meetings. So if the student is part of the Herbert School, they're going to hear about the different maybe auditions and meeting times, whether they're virtual or in person. And I would assume it's going to be just like how it would be during a normal semester, where a student that wants to be involved will then be part of the list, and they will be kind of supervised by the faculty advisor. So I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. But again, it'll be through sort of, there'll be close advising going on from the faculty.
Thanks again, Michelle.
Sometimes, you know, on a Thursday night, there's like a lot of students here running around till the wee hours, which is terrific. And we'll get there again. But for this semester, I think it's going to be a little more controlled, but still fun.
Next question. What is your policy about professors using and keeping up to date the Blackboard site to make sure that students are aware of their grades if courses are remote? I'll actually try and take a stab at that. So faculty are encouraged to use Blackboard in general, but it's not a mandatory platform that they are required to utilize. And so I say that because while most faculty will, you may have some who choose to use other methods to be able to communicate and manage their course content. That being said, if your faculty are not providing appropriate feedback, as has been indicated would happen, let's say in the syllabus, whether or not it's Blackboard or some other platform, you should check in with the department chairperson to share your concerns, assuming that you've already spoken to the faculty member to ask for that information. So the first thing you should always do is contact your professor, ask them for clarification on your grades. But if you're not getting appropriate feedback, then definitely let the department chairperson know, and they will make sure that they encourage those faculty to be more communicative with students, because we do want faculty keeping all students updated on your progress. And that's why we do the mid-semester advisories each semester, where your faculty are required to submit a thumbs up or a thumbs down regarding your progress in the course within the first 10 weeks or so. So we definitely want to make sure that you are getting feedback. So if you're not, definitely follow up with the professor and then let your department chairperson know if it doesn't improve. Thank you for that question. This one reads, I wanted to ask about the future of production-based courses the coming year. As a senior film student, I'm concerned with the possibility of a second wave and subsequent canceling of senior thesis, as happened to many of my classmates last year. I'm wondering what steps have been made to preserve both the necessity of hands-on learning as well as coming senior projects.
Yes, again, you know, they're planning and trying to come up with contingency for if there's the unfortunate occurrence of a second wave. You know, obviously students can always either take an incomplete, but I know that doesn't always make it, you know, better, or it depends on the mode that the student is doing, but it sounds like production related, yes, that's something that needs to be done, you know, with cameras, lights, and the equipment, and either on remote or in studio. So those courses are being planned out, and contingency planning is happening. If things need to happen, maybe everything's already shot and edited, and then, it's shot, it just needs to be edited, which can be done remotely. Maybe they front load the courses with the production aspect first. Obviously, the students that are electing to do their senior script, that they can do that remotely, or students that are actually creating a thesis, writing a paper, that can be done remotely. But for the production-related courses, I know that the chair people and the dean are really coming up with the best plans and trying to figure that out. And it depends on the student too. Some students will be happy with, you know, doing what they can that semester, depending if you're graduating in December or in spring, and then some want to come back. I know that they did this year, they let students be able to walk, if you will, and then they were going to come back and do those 2 weeks of studio production just to get that great experience under their belt. So it really, again, will be case by case for those senior film students who are electing the production-based projects. Mark, maybe you have a little more to add to that?
No, that actually, that seems to capture it all. Thank you very much, Michelle.
And again, you can email me, and we can take another discussion offline, those who are interested in that, and I can connect you with, you know, Phil Katzman and Rodney Hill, our chair folks of the film department, who will definitely be able to better articulate the film senior project plan. Always happy to connect you guys and make sure you know exactly what you need to know.
So the next question is, what would potential alternative courses look like for an incoming senior in TV production? If he is remote, what kind of course or courses can be substituted? I'll start and then invite Michelle. These situations, because they're very specific to students' degree audits and records, are going to be handled on a case-by-case basis. And so if you are a student who's planning to study remotely this fall, the most important thing is to elect the remote learning form immediately when you get that email today. And then to follow up with the professors, because they will look at your record, look at your progress, and see what may make the most sense for you to be able to accommodate your pathway to graduation. And in some cases, there might be some theory or advanced writing alternatives. But in other cases, it may be that students are encouraged to postpone a requirement to the spring and to fulfill a different general requirement in the fall. So what I can tell you is that the RTVF department and the faculty advisors are going to be working with each student to make sure that there is a plan, and each plan will probably look a little bit different to make sure that it speaks to a student's needs, and also it speaks to the appropriateness of what can be provided remotely. So it is going to be a very unique situation, and we encourage a student to reach out to their production professors to reach out to their faculty advisor if they know they're in production courses that can't be accommodated, to find out what would be good alternatives. And of course, they can also always reach me, Mark Oppenheim. My contact information is in the chat. I am the General Advising Dean to Bachelor of Science TV students and can help any TV major troubleshoot and connect with Professor Hillebrand and the rest of our faculty in television. We have another question that speaks to senior film. For senior film or other projects where students will be shooting on location, is the university providing guidance, support, etc., or limiting the productions in any way to ensure the health and safety of the students? Is it all up to them to exercise proper care?
Well, I know that the student will be discussing whatever their senior film is with their professor. So they'll make a plan that works and that is safe. So I think it would be a combination of support from the university and the film department, as well as the student, living up to their sort of part of the scenario where they're, doing the best they can to be safe during the shooting. All of our equipment is being, sanitized, and it's there's a whole new protocol with some plastic shields going up for when the students check out the equipment, and they're going to be able to keep it out longer so that it can kind of, be sort of aired out and things. So yeah, it's going to, they will be limiting when and different times and to check out equipment. And, again, each senior project has to be approved and kind of discussed with the professor. And at that time, the location and the different parameters will be agreed to. So it'll be sort of a combination of effort.
Well, Branka, yes.
I just would like to ask students and family members to understand that we are all in it together. We consider our students to be adults and to follow all the protocols, safety protocols that are already posted on our Safe Start webpage. Please, read those. And it's pretty simple. Wear the mask, wash your hands, allow 6 feet physical distancing. This is the basics, and we are preparing all buildings are prepared for that. Now we need all of us to follow this. Please know that we expect that students will abide by those guidelines. And by the way, we do have, this will be part of community standards, and students who will not abide by those protocols will be part of student conduct process.
Thank you for that important point, Branka. I also want to remind students that the email with your schedules is currently being sent out. So I think already a couple of thousand students would have received it by now. So by the end of the afternoon, all of our undergraduates will have received the email with your updated modalities and the link for remote learning should you need to pursue remote learning this upcoming semester. I wanted to point out that just like any other semester, students have until the end of the first week to make online program changes. And so if you are looking to consider adjustments, let's say moving one time or one distribution to another, August 30th is the online drop add period on the portal. And then of course, students can still make program changes after that, but it requires the written approval of their faculty member. I also wanted to point out that we have had a new attribute search function added to the Lookup Classes page so that now students can actually choose to look up courses by the mode of delivery. So if, for example, you wanted to take another online synchronous course, you could ask for all courses that are online synchronous and hit submit and see which ones are available and if they meet any requirements on your degree audit. So these are just some tools that will allow students to best identify your options. And we want to empower you if you think you might need to make a program change to try and be as independent at first in the process, and then to let us know what you need assistance with in terms of closing the loop and making sure that you can get all of the adjustments confirmed. Do we have any other questions for our panel? We'll give a moment just to allow, and if not, we'll invite our panelists to just give some closing remarks. So why don't I just, and I know Branka just made a really poignant statement, but I'll invite Branka just to say, some closing regards to the audience.
Thank you very much. I'm directing this to students and family members, but parents are in my heart. So thank you, dear parents, for working with us. I know that you are faced by really great obstacles, especially you from the travel advisory states. I cannot even imagine what obstacles you're facing just to get your student back to campus or to quarantine off campus. So I understand all of those difficulties and the cost. And I would just like to thank you very much for patiently waiting for our communications, for letting us know your questions. We appreciate this. Thank you for being here. And please contact me at any time at parents@hofstra.edu.
Thank you, Branka. Let's pause to answer a couple more questions. I think we're getting a request from Michelle's email, which I think she may have posted earlier in the chat.
Yes,
but if
I posted it in the chat, but I'll say it out loud. So it's Michelle with one L, michele.a.roberts@hofstra.edu. And I'll go ahead and put it in the chat again so it's like top of mind. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Additionally, what if all of your classes are in person on the schedule and you're staying home for remote learning and cannot come up with appropriate substitutes? So in that situation, we're going to be working carefully with students to try and, in some cases, be creative in terms of what requirements can be recommended this semester that can be completed remotely. And so we'll look at the entirety of a student's degree audit and look at every requirement that's remaining. And there may be different requirements that were in the major that may be less hands-on in writing, theory, or history. There may be other electives that students need, even though they weren't choosing to fulfill their electives in the fall. We would help them find required electives that would at least progress them toward the 124 credits. And in some cases, the major department may recommend what we call a substitution to say, we're going to allow a student to take a course that's not one of the specific choices for a requirement, but that maybe is a similar or a course or meets the spirit. And so this is going to be handled on a case-by-case basis. And that's where we would want the student to work with the Herbert School Dean's Office, their faculty advisor, and the Center for University Advising to confirm a schedule that we can make sure, even if it's not including production courses, has 5 courses that will be filling requirements toward graduation. So our goal is to make sure that a a student will be accommodated even though they are unable to take those courses. It just may be delaying the production courses, and it may mean that we have to be a little bit more flexible with the future sequencing, but we're prepared to be doing that under these circumstances. So definitely follow up with the faculty advisor to review the schedule and discuss options. We've been talking with lots of families with kids at other institutions, and we really appreciate all the efforts you folks are making and the transparency and communication and flexibility you've shown. Much appreciated. Well, we appreciate your patience and understanding because it's been very difficult on students and families as well, and we hope that we will all be successful together this coming semester. So thank you for that kind comment. We also have a question here. What happens with senior sequential courses 164 and 165 if not on campus in the fall and due to graduate in the spring? That is a big concern and an important question, but that is the specific case-by-case situation that we are currently reviewing with students. And so there are already several students in that very scenario who are working with their television faculty advisors to discuss what their fall and spring would look like in order to confirm a plan that keeps them on track for graduation. And so I think that's going to be a situation where each student needs to definitely contact their faculty advisor, look over the degree audit together, find out from our faculty what, if any, are the appropriate solutions. I think in many cases, the department will come up with appropriate solutions. And in other cases, they'll need to take a deeper look to see how to support the student with completing the given requirement. But in any case, the department and school is committed to working with each student to make sure they do their best to not disrupt their progress toward graduation. And we're optimistic that there will be solutions. So please contact your faculty advisor as soon as possible to discuss that particular question. So I'm going to now, and feel free to pop in additional last minute questions, welcome Stephanie just to give some closing remarks as well.
Great, thanks, Mark. So I had mentioned earlier at the start of the webinar that the Center for Academic Excellence, where I work, offers tutoring services, free service, and will be virtual. And so for some School of Communication students, you might be taking a course like a foreign language requirement. So just know that our tutors will be available to work with you if you're taking Spanish or French and you're a little nervous, whether you're doing in-person courses or you're doing remote learning. Our tutors are prepared to help you virtually to make sure that you still have some type of face-to-face virtual engagement to practice learning languages like that. But I also want to mention, based on some of the questions that have come up, clearly there might be situations where students will have sort of multiple modes of classes that they'll be dealing with. So the example of having an online class followed by a face-to-face class and trying to find a routine to that. Whether you're a first-year student or a senior, this is going to be new for everybody. And so what our department does in the Center for Academic Excellence is really work with students to try to help you get set up so you can do your best work outside of the classroom to see success inside of the classroom. And that could be virtual classroom or in-person classroom. And we still provide that service. So we will be available for students to have virtual appointments. If a student is on campus and needs to be accommodated in a face-to-face appointment with one of our staff members, we'll have the opportunity for that as well. And we are also offering group workshops for students. So we will have resources available in the Center for Academic Excellence to try to help students find some of those soft skills outside of academics, time management, study skills, just making sure that you're adapting to this new environment, because it is going to be a transition for everybody, regardless of what grade level you are and where you're at in your current program, and the need to be flexible and adaptable with your courses depending on your own personal situation as well. You'll also likely hear from us if we hear from a faculty member that they are not able to reach you, or you're falling behind maybe in your coursework. If they can't get in touch with you, a lot of times those faculty will reach out to us, so we can try to contact you and get you back on track. So if you do hear from the staff in the Center for Academic Excellence, please do not be afraid of our outreach. We are really there to help you, and we are going to be doing a lot of hard work this semester to make sure that this transition is successful for all of you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Michelle Roberts, Assistant Dean.
Yes, and thank you so much, Mark, and thank you all for taking the time to attend this forum today. You know, I want to reiterate, we're so excited to welcome you to the Herbert School, either for the first time or if you're a returning student, and whether you're in person or virtual or a combination thereof. You know, basically our faculty is going to be flexible. We're going to offer safe solutions, but a lot of it will come down to a case-by-case basis as it pertains to the production courses. So, you know, bear with us as we all figure this out together and come up with the best solution for your student. And, you know, definitely check your Hofstra emails, because that's how I communicate with everybody, as well as other important folks here on this call. And we're here for you. And so please reach out, and I thank you very much.
So I want to thank all of our audience members who spent the last hour with us, and thank my colleagues, Michelle, Branca, and Stephanie, for joining me in doing our best to answer your questions, reassure you, let you know that we're all in this together. And we, as Michelle said, we're excited to welcome you all back to campus, or to welcome you back virtually if that ends up being the case. But we just need you to continue to let us know what you need. So always be communicating with us, and also always be looking for communication from us. So that means checking your Hofstra email daily. Make sure you clear your cell phone and voicemail so that we can reach you there if we need to with any important updates. And just know that the next few weeks are going to be interesting in terms of confirming schedules, and we're all going to work together, and you know, it's going to be a process that we figure out and make sure that students are able to feel good about their progress toward graduation. And so if you have additional questions, please reach out to any of us. All of our contacts are in the chat. We'll give you a moment just to grab that before we close the webinar. And I'll just say that in the email that is in the process of going out, some of you should have already received it, there will be information about open quick question hours in the Center for University Advising on Monday. So we are hosting 4 hours of virtual drop-ins on Monday from 12 to 4 p.m. And there is a link in the email that you're going to get today with specifics on how to join us for a quick question session about anything advising related on Monday. So on behalf of my colleagues and Hofstra and the Center for University Advising, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for being part of our community, and we look forward to a great and safe fall semester. Have a great afternoon.